behave for 3 weeks.
Call this meeting to order. This is the Animal Control Advisory Board. It is September the 17th, 2024. And we invite citizens to speak on any topic, however, unless the item is specifically noted on the agenda. The board is required under the Texas Open Meetings Act to limit its response regarding with a statement of specific factual information, reciting the city's existing policies, or directing the person making the inquiry to visit the city staff about the issue. No board deliberation is permitted. Each person may have 3 minutes to speak. The regular agenda item is to discuss, consider and take action on the December 4th, 2023 meeting minutes. These were the minutes from the last meeting we were in, which is it's kind of funny. We need a motion and a second to accept the minutes. Anybody?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
I second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Do we need to vote on it?
Yes.
All right. Those in favor? All right. So 3 to nobody. Second thing on the agenda is to consider possible action on amending section A3.001 of the Code of Ordinances to include a fee for failure to present a valid rabies certificate under the animal control fees.
Okay, so I don't know what y'all have copy wise.
We've got all of them.
Okay,
Each
so
one, each
I'm gonna
item.
go ahead and hand you
Is this the-
these, because on the animal control fees, for some
Okay.
reason, the red line didn't come across.
Okay,
So I hope I don't confuse matters by pointing these. So what I did was do the red line version.
oh,
And
that's
then
great.
the final draft, what it would look like with that, because there was some confusion with that. There's only one change on this particular one. So currently, and I guess in the past, we've always had one single fee of $462 for failure to sterilize, but it also had rolled in failure to provide proof of rabies vaccination.
Okay.
So all we really did with this one was separate out the fee. So now, because it does happen where they may have gotten the rabies vaccination but didn't sterilize it, vice versa. So just update the fee schedule.
Okay. Pretty straightforward.
Open to any comments or questions or?
So you're basically just adding the
Yeah,
rabies
so
portion in there so that it's,
I went in and added it on the second page on the back, well, the back of the first page. It lists the failure to spay or neuter, and then below it, I listed the
rabies.
rabies, yeah.
Okay.
So. And it'll be $181.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Any questions? Take a motion.
Motion.
All right. Have a
Second the motion.
Second. All those in favor? Jan? 3 of us said yes. Unanimous. And the next one is discuss and consider and take possible action on section 2.01.001 of the Code of Ordinances to update the definitions portion. Thank you.
Now, the definitions came about with some of the cleaning up of previous ordinances, but also the tethering. It created some additional definitions that we needed to add in. So that's all it was. It's just going through the ordinances to making sure that everything is properly defined.
Yeah, so if y'all aren't familiar, last year, and I think the year before too, we were
Yeah.
rewriting ordinances and updating them, getting everything up to speed. Getting things added in there that needed to be in there per state law.
Okay. Thank you.
And then, this is just updating the definitions to that.
So,
the ordinance is good. This is just definitions that were tagged.
yes,
Good.
that, some of them came directly from the tethering ordinance. There's a definition for a harness, for a dog, for a couple of other items. So,
It
again, pretty,
never hurts to have more definitions in there than you need because it keeps people from asking questions that you have to dig for an answer.
Mhm.
Because we want our answers to be unanimous and uniform, so,
yeah.
all right. Do we have in the ordinance something against the choker chains? Didn't we put that in there?
In the tethering,
Or the biting chains?
in the tethering,
Okay.
the one that's next, yes.
That's my
Cause
question.
I'm seeing the part that about, proper fitted and things like that, and the ones can't be properly fitted, they tighten themselves
Pinch
down.
or prong type.
Or the prong time, so. This is all good. Anybody have any questions?
And the definitions are something that will be a continual update as we. go
Right,
through.
that's what I'm saying. It's a continual thing as something comes up or as we do an ordinance. Member goes through it or whoever reads it goes through it and says, hey, can we have a definition to this? Or if a question comes in from the public and you see something that doesn't make sense and we define it in here and it helps keep everything clear.
And it helps the animal control officers,
Enforce.
clarify something that may be gray
Right,
as far as an
yeah.
ordinance, so.
Yep, okay. Ask for motion,
A motion to accept this ordinance?
right?
I second that motion.
All right, we have a motion and a
Two
second.
point oh one, point oh oh oh, oh oh one.
Oh, one, right, all right. Raise your hands if you're for it. Unanimous. Item number 4 is to discuss, consider and take possible action amending section 2.01.007 of this code of ordinances regarding tethering a dog and other animals. This just cleans up the actual ordinance of the tethering.
Yeah, there
This
was
is
some,
aside from the definition, that's the ordinance itself.
yes, there are some state law changes regarding tethering as well, which,
That's the other.
talked about the type of
documents.
collars that are allowed to be used, but also the length and the type of, chain or rope or cable that can be used, so, on the second page, section D, item 1, it talks about, the way they can be restrained. And that they must be capable of moving within 15 feet of public right of ways parked, so that you can't tie a dog straight to the edge of your property and allow it to go on to somebody else's or any type of public right of way. And then in the next section talks about they must be able to sit, turn around, lie down. And then it references back to shall not cause any injury or pain. Must be able to reach shelter, so most of these additions are straight from the state changes.
Yeah.
And then 7 talks about without using a properly fitted collar or harness. And then we had to make the adjustment, so now it's not just a properly fitted collar, it's to tether with a choke, pinch, or prong type collar of any sort. It can no longer be
To
utilized.
absolutely more specific.
Mhm. And then it goes into the specific length of the tether. Shorter of the greater of 5 times the length of the dog as measured from the tip of the nose to the base of the dog's tail, or 10 feet, so. And then the restraint itself, they changed the weight of it as well, so it can't be more than 1/10 of the animal's body weight.
Yeah.
So I don't know if y'all need to put scales in your trucks but.
I wouldn't be opposed to that. I know that we need to get the scale shelter.
Yeah, I've heard of that, yeah, so. Most of the tethering was based on state law, amendments.
I make a motion to accept 2.01.007.
Second that motion.
Show of hands, will vote. Okay. Unanimously, that's accepted. Item number 5, August 2024 monthly animal service report.
So we have been doing, I call them statistics, since I've been here.
Mhm.
So I don't know why I haven't provided them to you before, but they're always on the council agendas. So on these, it's at the back of your packet, it gives last year's stats as compared to current year. So you can kind of see trends, the volunteer hours, have been up, the community service hours are up significantly. For a shelter of our size, we do have a ton of foot traffic, and phone calls. We field calls, some of the craziest calls I've ever answered. A lot of it stems from the county, people seeking, being able to turn in animals or just seeking help of any kind, but 9 times out of 10, they're in the county. So you can kind of see, they do have some peak months where their kennels are fuller than others. Typically during springtime, when breeding season is occurring. And then we also track the calls and citations, and then I had requested that they try to do so many patrol hours, or at least make an attempt to do some patrol to be more proactive.
Sure.
And they've been doing a good job with that. And then outcomes, that's anything that gets kind of taken out. So adoptions, maybe they died in care because of disease or whatever it may be. Euthanasia, those that were returned to the owner or transferred out to a rescue, or they were able to capture them in the field and return them in the field and not even bring them back into the shelter. So we track those. And then we also track the intakes, the type of intake, so you can see how many different options they have based on tracking. And then I'll provide the euthanasia information so y'all can see that we do euthanize, but we try to keep it as minimal as possible. So mostly what you're seeing is for a medical reason or for aggression.
Right.
So we do have pretty low live outcome, or we have very high live outcome rates. And then the last page of it is just the revenue, so based on adoptions.
Do we have a high volume of having to go out and capture dogs or cats or things like that?
We do, it just varies on the time, I guess you would say. So in 1 week, I think I did 10 calls because there was a dog over here, a cat over here, and one day I think we went on Friday, she and I went on 5 calls together because there was multiple animals together, and I think we brought 3 back.
Brought 2 back. 3 of them were able to get back into the fence.
Yes.
One of them we actually saw right here. We were headed back from a call up here at the Bolero. There was 2 dogs that were loose up there. We were headed back this way after getting them back home. We knocked on the door. They typically will go back to their home. Their domain is where they'll wander back to if you walk up to them. So we were able to get them back into their door, and then headed back this way right here at the cottages behind us. There was another pit that was out, so we pulled over. I got out, had her drive, follow me, that way, I could walk it back. And of course, the lady was getting her shoes on, getting ready to come and chase them down. And typically that's what happens. Animals
Yeah.
will get out, so we can get them back home. As far as the intake on calls that we go out on, maybe 2, 3 a week, if that.
On an instance where you may follow those animals back, do you still record that as an instance where a loose animal, even though it was resolved quickly and,
Yeah.
um,
So that's something we have been working on because previously stuff like that, because it didn't actually come into the shelter, may not have been recorded, but
not really being.
I've tried to explain like how or the why to it, because if it's not showing on the stats and say we need more staffing or, need anything that the
Or if you have
stats
a
justify it.
or if you have a problem area or family or animal in particular.
Yeah.
What I was thinking is can you look into seeing if there's a way you can make a heat map of the city? That these addresses or areas that you can pin or
Yeah.
color and so we can start seeing a heat map where you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you take a map of the city, if y'all aren't familiar with the
Yes.
heat mapping, it would show you where these hot spots may be. And then if have a few 30 minutes to patrol or something, you have more of an area, to go to. And then it would help the council to know, hey, we've got areas that we're all keeping an eye out on. And this is where we're really putting our time into.
We
Go ahead.
typically understand or know, like, because we are so small. and
Yeah,
close
yeah.
knit, we'll typically know where the hot spots are. So like, we know that the
Yeah.
apartment complexes tend to be higher populated in stray cats, because the ranches, the ranchettes, it's just higher
Or
populated.
duplexes or.
Right, just higher populated areas. So with,
I'm wondering if we can run, because I guess the thing is if you identify where it came from, then I guess we could probably run a report that maybe contained an address and somehow.
Yeah, if there was some way of,
Whatever.
if you can come up with a way that's not too much extra work, I don't want you to do something that necessarily you're not already doing, but if there's a way you can heat map it, it would help the council to see how much work you're putting into certain efforts. And it would also aid in if we need resources or anything like that. It's another factor for you to ask for more help or
Absolutely.
more.
Well, and I
more
will,
Things, so.
I will praise them. Right now they're operating without a shelter manager, so, and we just hired a part-time kennel tech and they have worked diligently on social media along with
Oh, yeah. I've
keeping
seen-
everything else up and current and taken care of, but also making the time because they understand the value of social media and getting information out there too. So they've done a great job at just trying to start educating the public, because I think education is a huge part of all of our jobs.
Yep.
So.
And you guys are always involved in city functions too, and trying to get the
we
get the
try.
faces out there and put the cute ones out front, and those kind of things, put
And
the
then
ugly ones out
Yeah,
there
give
too.
it to you.
Yeah.
We changed we used to do the city licensing, and a lot of cities have kind of moved away from the licensing, but still required the microchipping, and I think.
Yeah,
Trying to maybe do a big push on the microchipping, which we do the annual, National Pet ID Week, where we purchase so many microchips and give out the first however many we have for free.
sure.
But they
Anything
also
we
sell
can do
them to
like
the
that,
public,
that we can open up to the public and offer a service that may help us get things back into control.
Yeah. And help
Anything we
them
can
get
do
them
like that
back
would
home.
help them keep things in control and always anything like this that comes up that we can put together with
Mhm.
whether it's a city function or a volunteer fire department function, they're doing something, or anything out there that we can be a part of.
That is a good idea, though, to make it more specific, so if they did have a booth somewhere, say, hey, we're offering the first 20 free microchips, but if if we run out, then we'll do it for a discounted rate.
Sure.
because
Absolutely.
Could we try that at our next event?
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
Just depends on what you have available, so.
You, have foster, do you do foster any animals?
I used to, however.
Not you specifically, but
Joe,
the
mostly
population.
foster.
No, I'm not trying to put more work on you. I was just wondering if there was a program for fostering.
So we have, I think a couple that do kittens,
Mhm.
but we have to be careful because there is some liability associated
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
If somebody were to get hurt or bit. or,
Yeah, you get a little liability.
We
for it.
actually had a group of, and they
Better
were
to
the
just
most
adopt 'em
adorable
out.
teenagers. They called us from Grand Prairie and they said, we have a mama cat who lost all of her kittens. Do y'all have any babies that we can come and get? And I said, sure. And they came all the way up here and took 4 babies to her and they actually wanted up fostering them themselves.
Okay.
So,
We've done that too. That's what I was wondering.
But you just, you let them keep them, right?
yes,
So
they
you
adopted them out.
basically, you adopted them out. It's kind of a word salad thing,
Yeah,
you know, fostering or
We have
adopting
an
out
option for
actually.
foster, but they have to be the C3, 501c3. They have to have that as far as us transferring them out to a foster. So we do have a foster that we work, or a rescue that we work with fairly closely. But we typically alternate. So like if they've got puppies or something that they're needing help with and we don't have an open kennel, hey, take the big one, can you take them to events? Like we'll bounce back and forth off of each other because there's so many animals that we can't just do it on our own. So fosters and rescues and other shelters are a saving grace really
Well,
all around.
Something that I found interesting, I've spent some time at the Burleson Animal Shelter, but we may have a dog or a cat here that's been unadoptable in this area, but if you shift it to another shelter and trade, it's crazy, but it'll often get adopted out elsewhere, so
Yeah.
they do often kind of swap animals.
I wonder if there's I wonder if it's possible to cross reference other departments or other cities, social media wise, like if we're doing a function, can we invite other cities to, you know, if they have, animals that are unadoptable, if it's something like that, maybe
To
you could
get
throw it
them
out
right.
there. Maybe you could,
yeah.
I don't know, it's
That's
just,
a good
just an idea. It's not
Mutts
something I'm
Galore,
suggesting we do, but.
A lot of times Mutts Galore, they work closely with them, they're a local, rescue, like if they can't be at the event because of whatever reason,
Yeah,
Mutts Galore will actually sometimes come get some of our animals
Yeah.
and brings their own
think
too.
I've been somewhere where they had that set up and there was animals that were,
From-
it said on there, this one's from the Burleson Animal Shelter, this one's from the Joshua.
Mhm.
And it was, they accumulated, brought them all together and tried to adopt them out.
It's actually a really kind of cool group. They really do help each other out. Cause y'all had 3 that went out this week and went to where?
Mansfield came this morning and they were only gonna get 2. And they heard one of our longest residents, he was a pity, heartworm positive, and they heard his story and they said, okay, he's coming with us. So he went to Mansfield this morning and now
But they had a shortage of larger dogs. or
they
something
did,
like
they
that,
had a
so-
shortage of dogs.
Anything.
And they said if we can transport cats to them, they'll take our cats.
That's awesome.
It's
That's
just
awesome.
weird. It goes back to that whole demographics thing where like we may have a ton of cats and somebody else may not. So often they have a huge email group across Texas that they all send out information to, or hey, do you have any cats or do you have any small dogs or so there actually is a pretty cool network that they have.
Yeah.
Arlington called us a couple of months ago and took all of our cats that we had and put them in PetSmart and Petco up there.
Awesome.
Pretty incredible that the amount of help we get from surrounding shelters and rescues and it's astounding. And it takes all of us really to make it because there's no way
Mhm.
that we could make it on our own.
Well,
There's
I
so
was
many
just gonna
of us.
say, thank you for doing what you do without a manager, without someone there, 24/7 to be over you. Y'all have done a bang up job and just keep it up. Anything you need, please come to us, let us know. And we'll
We
try
have
and
an
make it happen.
event coming up. Would that be a good opportunity to call some of the surrounding areas and get animals from them too?
I mean, potentially, I think it's just up to their own policy and what,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
if it's after hours, it creates overtime, so we just
Yeah.
have to go through their approval process. But I think there'd be a fine line between how many,
Yeah,
because I think
definitely.
the success rate may change with
Yep.
too many or, but. So I did have Heather put together just a little bit of information for y'all as far as kind of what's been going on in the shelter.
All right,
Just
got
ask
put her
her
on the
quick.
spot.
So, I would like to start off saying that we have improved our intakes and outtakes. We are, officially stopped taking from county. We just can't do it. We'll pull our hair out. But we have been offering like different resources and then, sorry, I
So
get
tell them a
sidetracked.
little, did get creative with, if they're full, we've always had somewhat of a waiting list, but now they've gotten creative and if the person is willing to hang on to the animal just for a little bit longer, we actually post, or they post it, that it's available, but it's not in the shelter. So if y'all are on their Facebook
That's a
page,
very good idea.
that's what they're doing, but if they need support with dog food, because they get quite a decent amount of dog food, cat food donations that they don't use because they keep everything on the same diet, but they are able to give that back. So if they can buy them some time and keep them in their own home out of the shelter, they've had a pretty good success rate with adoptions that way too.
That's a
Do
Good,
you
good way to
post
share your
what type of
resources.
food to get? I
We
mean, would,
don't, it's
what's-
whatever they wanna donate to us, and, for example, this morning, the guys that do Granbury Godly Rescue, they'll come to us and ask for food and we'll donate to them. There's times where we've got people coming from Cleburne
Yeah.
that need food and we'll send it out with them as well.
We do have an Amazon wish list though, so we do post that on our Facebook page, of things
Okay.
that are needed mostly at the shelter, like cleaning supplies, bleach, Dawn dish soap, just things that people want to donate. We always recommend use towels,
Use dog
blankets,
beds.
use dog beds. Food is always a necessity because the community, as long as we can keep those animals out of the shelter for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
It frees up a kennel for something that is absolutely needed, something that is valuable.
Sure.
And that's coming in, starving off the street. We can get that and take care of it to where this dog has a home. They just need to rehome it for whatever reason it may be.
Yeah.
how, I can go back and look, but how long ago approximately was it that you sent out that needs list?
The wish list?
It's been a little
Wish
bit.
list.
I try, cause, I think back in July, I reposted it on Facebook, what we needed. But it's time for us to repost it again.
I think I did a stocking thing, like a Santa's.
Yeah. We did a stocking stuffer thing. We
And
had our
Angel
tree.
Angel tree. It was
Angel
an
tree.
Angel tree, but it was for dogs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we had our
Well, I
dogs. in the
try to
shelter.
repost what y'all have out there and share it, so.
Yeah, you repost that.
We can do
We
that.
can add we could possibly add a little small section to our newsletter too. If you girls can put together something and just send it to her once a week or whatever.
I have it on everyone's calendar every Thursday, deadline.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
send me stuff
if
for
you think of
newsletter.
it,
Yeah.
if you've got a special need or something like that. Do you do hyperlinks in your
Yes.
newsletter?
Yeah.
You could hyperlink to, a wish list, or you could hyperlink to a specific animal that you're trying to rehome, or if you're trying to help someone out in the community, you can hyperlink a photo or something like that. That's a resource to think about. We don't want to overload her with things, but it's a resource that we've got out there that's working really well.
I get emails back from people almost every week about things that's in that newsletter.
Yeah.
So people's reading it and. they're
It's
paying attention.
become the new, Joshua Tribune. To just go retro on you a little bit. If y'all weren't around back then, some of you weren't. The Joshua Tribune was the only newspaper anybody in Joshua read, you know. There were some few people got Star Telegram, but the Joshua Tribune, and Alice picked up and started doing these type of things, and it's helped us get a lot of information out there that we were otherwise hamstrung because we don't have a newspaper anymore. The Burleson Star went away. Cleveland Times Review is less circulated. all those things. So we were having a hard time and our social media has really picked things up to a new level to help us out. So,
You don't have all the ads.
yeah, oh. Yeah, we were just watching Hulu before we came here. Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, you're-
Don't you know?
It's okay. So
She got sidetracked anyway. She
it's okay.
squirrel.
Yes. So other than that, the past few months, we did have an abundance of kittens. In 1 week, we had 4 cats give birth to 4 sets of kittens.
Oh, wow.
6 each, that's right. And one mama took on an extra 4, one mama took on 2, and another mama took on 3. And it's not normal for cats to take orphans.
It
So
isn't.
it
I've really
spiked
got
our
this.
numbers to 48 cats.
Wow.
But we weren't really moving dogs until here recently because of summer and school starting back, which is pretty normal. But now we've actually dropped our cat adoptions to 28 cats in the shelter, and everything so far is spayed and neutered that's leaving.
So
So
how many dogs we have?
we have 6 dogs.
From 18.
That's awesome.
But yes, keeping up our social media with fun tips, tricks, adorable pictures of our animals, and putting our pet of the month on there. We do dog and cat. This month is Barney and Whiskey. So our Facebook has spiked tremendously. Our Pet Point and Pet Finder stay up to date. I've had people call from Minnesota, New Mexico, Washington, and New York, and Mutts Galore has actually transported those dogs and cats for us. So we do get so many compliments on how clean our shelter is, how wonderful we are, and which sometimes shocks me. So, and how we're just willing to help everybody in our community. And then right now, our only downfall is we're maintaining our building the best that we can with what we've got. There might be a little super glue and a little duct tape and some baling wire, but we're holding it together. But that's just to help uphold our wonderful name that we've gotten. Our sheriff's department has actually reached out to us and he said, I want to ask how many kennels that you have available because I'd rather work with y'all because y'all are so nice and y'all care what y'all do.
Very good.
Good job.
So in reference to that, if they have somebody that has been put in jail, they have to find a location
Yeah.
that they have a dog,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, sometimes, I know I've heard that.
And then quarantines
Too many
too, like
times.
a lot of vet clinics now are not wanting to take on any quarantines, so a lot of the times the shelters are left to do the quarantine, which we charge a fee for it, but it is a lot of paperwork and a lot of work
Yeah.
on them, so.
Awesome. So, future agenda items? If there's anything, I would like to request if one of you doesn't mind, can you come give that presentation you just read at the council meeting? To just share with them the successes that you've gone through in the adversity that you've been through in the last, 6-8 months.
It might be kind of cool
That's
to
a-
do like an end of the year wrap up, just
It
to
would
kind
be
of go
great.
over the statistics.
We look forward to hearing how well our departments do, and I'll commend you on this stage as well as we do in the council chambers. With the cuts that we've had to make and the cutbacks that we've done, the people we've had to let go or that have left, every department, but in specifically the animal department has stepped up to the challenge, and we appreciate that. Appreciate what y'all are doing. I say that on behalf of the entire council.
Animals definitely worth
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Every one of them in that shelter is worth it.
Well, there's a lot of things that I see that you're doing and we're hearing that you're doing that are working. And I've seen you take notes of the things that we've suggested that make it help. I don't know if there's anything else that comes up that we can help you with, let us know. Anybody got anything else they wanna ask for
Do not.
any special reports or any numbers or anything like that. If you could work on that heat map, see if you can come up with some kind of a formula that you could plug in or extract, pull
Yeah, I
from,
wonder if
pull
I
from
can
some
export
reports
it
you already run or something,
into
maybe.
Excel and create some type of splatter.
Or if there's, maybe there's something that you could, you know, piece of paper, you know, clipboard that you carry with you that you could mark down what neighborhood you're in. And then we could put that into a spreadsheet that could feed it. Any numbers like that would help us. Especially when it comes time for us to budget out another head count or a bigger shelter or more pens or whatever it is we need.
I know like the statistics that are in here, there's a lot of information and if there's a different format or some way to give it to you, but it's hard to drill it down too much because then you lose, like, is it a dog? Is it a cat? Is it?
It-
I mean, you
it-
lose some.
And the raw numbers, just, you know, some of these. that
I
you-
had
that you
graphs
had
and
on
stuff
there.
in it, but it just made more and more pages. So.
Yeah, it just makes more stuff, but when you try to throw like a heat map in there, it means something else. It kind of makes you go,
Well, they do
we got
have,
some bad areas there and there. And then just come to us and read that off if you don't mind. It'd be great.
I do need to add, NBC5 has reached out to us too about.
Well, now I'll be there.
Yeah, I have to get my hair done.
Yeah, not me.
Same.
Diane.
But they reached out about our adoptions during Clear the Shelter. I know we're a small city, but we did beat one of the bigger cities by 28, so.
That's another thing too. Keep an eye out and an ear out for other cities that run big programs like that and go in conjunction with them. You know, if they're doing it, let's do it too. Cause sometimes when somebody sees it, they'll turn around and they'll call. And if they see something on Facebook and they just saw it on the news, it'll be on their mind and they'll go ahead and pop for it.
Yep.
Something else I just thought of that I was thinking a minute ago, do we offer multiple pet discounts in our fee schedule? If we had someone that say wanted to adopt a mama cat with 6 babies, would it be a discount to take, 2 dogs as opposed to?
So per the fee schedule, they can go up to $50, but what they've been doing is, you know, we changed the adoptions to where they're sterilized prior to being adopted because it
Yeah, we have costs. that-
saves them a whole lot of grief tracking these down. But if
We also
they are,
tip them too, don't we?
yes, if they are too young to be sterilized or over a certain weight that TCAP can't do, they usually just charge them just basically what they have in them as far as any vaccination, worming, heartworm testing or triple feline microchip. So if they haven't necessarily been processed, then they do try to work with that, but
Well, I know in the past with management, we used to try to waive some fees. There were some things that was at their discretion. And if you got a question, toss it over and bang your heads together and see.
I think
Cause it's always something a little extra if you can.
well, and we like, not too long ago, because they were so inundated, I mean, they had pop-up kennels at one point, so we did a free week of adoptions, and I think we just need to do that a little bit more frequently,
That's
instead of
something
just
that-
an annual,
Yep. That's something you can toss in there.
but
I know
trying
the
to
Susan
figure out.
used to do the vaccination events.
And they've
with
done
us.
several
Those-
here too.
Those
so-
were really good and one that the shelters have been successful, so.
Yeah, they're getting huge turnouts for those, so much so that it's creating traffic issues and some of the neighbors
Yeah.
around there are complaining.
It's almost 200 people at our last TCAP event that we had.
Awesome.
Well,
we did
200
one
animals.
adoption.
Not
Do-
people, 200 animals.
Do you ask for volunteers then?
So I've had to
Or do you
temporarily
need-
stop the volunteer program because they do actually have a really good number of community service people. And because we're so shorthanded, they're trying to manage all these people and oversee them cleaning, so I've kind of just until we, I
Sometimes-
have a program established, but it's just.
Sometimes it's harder to.
Yeah,
Correct.
and I mean, Ally handles, all the communication with the community service people, and so trying to pivot, instead of just having them randomly show up, we're
we've had conversations about making them schedule time, because what happens at the end of the month, they'll have, what, 5, 6 people show up the last day of the month, needing 38 hours.
Yeah, you can't get 38 hours out of
And
them.
they just can't, they've got enough on their plates. They've got a lot that are returning that they don't have to, stay with right then, and don't necessarily need as much,
Yeah,
support.
my wife did the Girl Scouts for years, and a couple of her Girl Scouts used to volunteer for.
And they've even started utilizing them on the weekends if they're comfortable being there alone cleaning with somebody else. So they have started utilizing the ones that have been there for a while.
Yeah, but you gotta be careful, right?
I do make sure that I check their charges before I let anybody come in.
And if we feel like they're being fishy, I'll reach out to our police department and I say, well, what do they have?
She does keep an eye on the weekends on the cameras and everything, just to make sure that our.
As long as we're tracking it and have
Make
a
sure that
process
our
to it.
cameras is-
Yeah.
And
I think we've only.
sounds
sold
like
2
Amber's got
months
hold
worth
of it.
Yeah, they really have actually had a lot of good luck with community service, which isn't always the case. Now, if they have had some that aren't so great, they just ask them to not come back, but they've done a really great job as far as making sure they're safe and only allowing certain charges. And if they work, great. If don't, then, you're not welcome back here. So they've done, I think that's probably the large part of how they've been able to kind of keep their head above water, because they can't do it all. They can't, work the front, run calls, and clean all the kennels to the standard that needs to be done. So, I mean, I can't say enough good things about these two. I knew that, when Kelly left, that I didn't have to worry about the shelter, that I knew that if they needed something, they would call me. And I feel bad for leaving them over there, but they're learning so much, and they do call me if they need me. And so.
Sometimes that's the best way to grow up. If you just get left alone and figure it out. Call me if somebody cuts an arm off, and otherwise leave us alone.
Sink or swim.
Sink or swim. All right, well, if there's nothing further, we'll call this meeting adjourned at 7. Help me out with the time here. 7:14. We'll call it 7. What, 13? 7:13. It's kind of funny, I made that mistake when reading the clock. I was an hour off, and I said, I don't use analog clocks anymore.
Exactly.